Nanonood na ni Dalvin. Nag-request si Dalvin.
Hi, Dalvin.
Hindi ko nga alam na.
So,
You're serious?
Yeah.
Naka-YouTube tayo?
Hi.
Sila? Good. Kala ko.
Session 2 of What Did You Expect?
Well, may paper din.
Oh, no.
May
Wala
paper
dito.
din, ano? Rambo.
Pag tinransfer ko, magkakaproblema ba? Wala.
Full tayo lang. Ayan.
Meron. Yay!
May paper tayo, right?
Yes.
Yahoo! Akala ko na tayo.
Get 3 and pass.
Get
3.
Ay,
Huh? Then 1 dapat.
Ay,
Go, P5. Go, start. You're live already, no?
Meron kang section 1.
Oh, parang pellet ng isda to ah. Lapit na.
Ha?
Parang pellet ng isda.
Oo, mabilis yun sa tulong.
alright.
Naniro yun.
So,
Hindi. Ano
so we're live, ha?
Parang
On
sa
the
tapat.
internet. Hi, Daddy
Pero
Love.
instant.
May nasa sabog. Father-in-law. So, we're now in session 2 of What Did You Expect? Okay? So, what did you expect regarding the realities of marriage? Now, before we go on to our, so in today's session, we're dealing with the biggest problem. So, the biggest problem in marriage. Once you figure out what the biggest problem in marriage is, well, it's going to be easier to solve it. You know, that's how we do things. Eh? Ano ba? Ayaw mag-work yung computer mo. And you were wondering, what's wrong? How come ayaw mag-start? Once you know what the problem is, then, you know, it's going to be easy to solve it. Ganun din sa car. Ayaw mag-start. Once you know the problem, you know. So here, we're going to find out the biggest problem in marriage. Do you have an idea what the biggest problem in marriage is? Well, so the question we're going to start, before we go on to the video, is a question which I'd like to ask you people to contribute. What are the biggest and or most common problems in marriage? How do you fix them? So what do you think? Ano yung mga pinakamalaking problema sa isang marriage? Money! Ayun! So, you know, some people would tell you na, okay lang yan, walang money, basta may honey.
Not true.
Yes. You know,
Sabi.
yes, okay lang, ano, kahit araw-araw saging, basta may labing, ganyan. Well, when you get married, tapos araw-araw kayo sa saging, I don't think it's going to be fun. Magsasawa kayo sa labing ninyo. Okay? Sa saging kayo sa labing ninyo. Okay? So, well, yeah, money is important, no? That's why, you know, the Bible, I believe the Bible tells us that the husband should be able to provide for the family. But actually, I don't think if the marriage is healthy, money is not going to be a source of parang nag-broken marriage. Ganun. Okay? Although may nakita ko mga family na dahil sa inheritance ako. At first, okay yung mga siblings. Dahil sa inheritance, nag-away na, things like that. Okay? But that's not really the biggest problem. Although, yeah, it is a problem. No? But what else besides money? Is that it? Mayaman ka, di wala kang problema?
Hindi, problema din yun.
Too much
Problema din yun.
Problema din yun. Problema sobrang dami
Too much
pera.
money. Di madaming babae.
May hugot si Arap ah.
So what else?
Faithlessness.
Huh?
Faithlessness.
Faithlessness. Faith towards who? Faith towards Christ? Faith towards the spouse? Faith towards the community or what?
keeping it ambiguous so you can continue the discussion.
Okay. So I wonder if that's related to unfaithfulness or faithlessness. Is that the same thing? Okay. So faithlessness is ambiguous, so we cannot expound on something that's ambiguous, or else what's the point of being ambiguous, right? You can expound it.
You set the direction.
Okay. So that means saying we gotta have faith in Christ, something like that. Okay. That's not bad. Okay. So what else? What else? Wala na. Communication issues. Yeah, sometimes because before you get married, you talk a lot, but after you get married, you take each other for granted, so you no longer talk, and because of that, the marriage starts to go downhill. Okay, and yes, that is a problem. Yes,
Expectations.
expectations.
High expectations.
Yes, high expectations. Lalo na pag we always expect the other person to do something, right? So, when we expect from each other, we get disappointed pag hindi nangyayari. So, when you get married, not because of who the person is, but because of who the person will become. Okay, when tinignan ng babae, itong sino, sobrang siya, pero hindi ba may. Pero okay lang, when after we get married, we get married, I'm going to change him. Okay, when you have that kind of spirit, you're doomed. Okay? You're doomed. Okay. So what else? Okay?
Bad habits.
Bad habits. Ayun. That's sometimes there are habits that we like to keep on doing, no? And for the guys, they like to watch sports, things like that. Sometimes because of that, nawawala yung communication nila, or usually the guys like to play computer games. That's why whenever they see a woman who likes to play computer games, wow, heart na yung mata niya, marry me! Okay, kasi they like computer games, so they like women who likes computer games to begin. Okay, so but that's bad habits, right? Kasi if we do it too much, hindi na natin nagagawa yung responsibilities natin, that becomes bad. Okay? So what else? What else? Anything else? Okay? What about those who are married? Okay? What about you, Kambo?
Wala, we're perfect.
Yeah!
So, yun ang problema niya. Sabihin niya we're perfect, sabihin ni Ate Ivy we're not.
Okay? So what about si Eric, the other, married.
Wala si Winnie, dami niya sinasabi niya eh.
Oh?
Yun
Live ka, live.
yung bad habits na.
So I guess you don't consider as a problem what we call as in-laws. Okay? Sometimes yung in-laws, for some people naging problem, no? So one time kami sa Akloban yata, we sinurprise party namin yung isang auntie namin, auntie-in-law ko, auntie sinurprise party. So we went to a certain place and they decided to take picture. Sabi nila, dapat yung blood relatives na. So nag-take picture sila, yung lahat kami na in-laws nasa side na nakatingin kami. And then, tinignan ko yung mga ka-in-law ko, ganyan. And I asked them a question. Sabi ko, hey guys, do you know the difference between an in-law and an outlaw? Okay? And you know the difference between an in-law and an outlaw? You don't know? Let me tell you, and the difference sa pag nakita mo, talagang nakita mo how opposite they are. Ganito yun. Outlaws are wanted. So grabe, nakarelate kami. We are the unwanted. Nag-happy sila. Nag-group picture sila. Nakatip kami. We're not the outlaws, we're the in-laws. Okay, so these are some of the problems that we encounter, no? but they are actually not the biggest problem. So today, we're going to take a look at this video, okay? And afterwards, we're going to answer some questions here. Are you going to use this for the noise system? Kanina ba may sound check? Really? Maybe, yun.
Your husband, in his bad moments, doesn't cause you to do the nasty things you do in response. That's caused by your heart. Your wife, when she doesn't live up to your expectations, doesn't cause you to beat her up with words.
Excuse, I'm going to pause this for a while.
That comes out of your heart. That's what Jesus
This is
is saying
second
is radical and humbling.
Is this session 2?
Yeah,
About-
yeah.
We'll use another illustration that is beautiful and helpful. It's the illustration of the fruit tree.
Oh yeah, okay.
Think with me. What's the easiest way to recognize an apple tree?
May the fruit.
Apples. If you see a tree laden with apples, you don't stand in front and say, I wonder what kind of tree this is. You immediately know it's an apple tree, but stay with me. You also know that this tree is appleistic all the way down to its roots. If it didn't have appleism in its roots, it wouldn't grow apples as fruit, right? You'll never plant peach pits and get apples. If you plant peach pits and get apples, run fast, run far, something happened to the universe, and it's probably not good. Now, Jesus is saying, you got to get the concept here, that in a fruit tree, there's an unbreakable organic connection between the fruit of the tree and the roots of the tree. The organic composition of the roots actually cause this kind of fruit to be produced. And in his illustration, the fruit is meant to represent your words and your behavior, and the roots are meant to represent what's in your heart. Now that illustration I've just given you literally tells you everything you need to know about why marriages go bad, and everything you need to know about how marriages get solved in one stunning, eloquent, Messiah-given illustration. It's stunning. You say, Paul, help me. Well, let me push the illustration. Pretend with me that in my backyard in Philadelphia, I have an apple tree. And every year it grows hard, dry, pulpy, brown, inedible apples. Organic hockey pucks. And that happens year after year, and it's sort of frustrating because we can't really eat them. They end up just falling to the ground and rotting. And pretend that my dear wife Luella comes to me and she says, Paul, it doesn't make any sense for us to have an apple tree. We can never eat the apples. Can't you do something about our apple tree? Well, I love this woman. I want to please her. And so I think and I ponder, and on a Friday night, I say to Luella, tomorrow I'm going to fix our tree. Luella's a little bit confused, but she's kind of excited. And she says, okay, well, that'd be great. Saturday morning, she looks out the window and she sees me carrying these items. pay careful attention here. I'm carrying a big tall ladder. I'm carrying some branch cutters. I'm carrying a pneumatic nail gun. And 3 bushels of red delicious apples. And I very carefully cut off all those organic hockey pucks. And symmetrically, I nail 3 bushels of red delicious apples on that tree. If you hadn't seen me do that and you would drive by the house, you would see this fruit-laden tree and you'd say, oh my goodness, this man must be the horticulturist of the century. If you're my wife, what are you thinking? You're thinking this is a big one. The doctor said he'd be this way if he lived. Now, think with me, what's going to happen to those apples? Well, they're going to rot because they're not actually attached to the life-giving resources of the tree. But stay with me, even more profoundly, what kind of apples is that tree going to produce the next season? Hard, dry, pulpy, inedible apples. Because if that happens season after season, there's something systemically wrong with the tree, even to its roots. And if you don't change that, you're not going to get a new harvest of fruit. Welcome to your marriage. Now, I'm deeply persuaded that most of what couples try to do to change their marriage, and most of what is written, even in Christian marriage books, is nothing more or less than apple nailing. And I can give you the 3 most often used apple nailing strategies in marriage. Don't try this at home. Here's the first one, threat. You say, dear, I don't know how long I can stay in this kind of marriage. I don't know how long I can deal with your stuff. I think about my escape. Now, what are you trying to do there? You're trying to raise a big enough threat that threat will alter in a lasting way the behavior of another human being. Hear what I'm about to say. If by your tone of voice, if by the look on your face, if by your pointed finger, if by threatening language, you had any capacity to change your spouse, Jesus would not have had to come. It doesn't work. No one in this room, including this man, is the 4th member of the Trinity. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. It just introduces greater tension and greater disappointment because you're trying to do something you have no ability to do whatsoever. Husbands and wives, hear me. You have no ability whatsoever to change your spouse. Zip, none, nada. Change is always an act of grace. What about manipulation? You try to find something that other person likes and wants, and you hold it out in front of them, and you say, if you do this, I'll do this. It's a nasty bargain. Because you're not actually getting love from that person. You're not actually getting personally motivated service or romance. You've bought them. Why did you know this? If you have to nag and manipulate your husband into doing something romantic, it never satisfies your heart, does it? Because you know if you hadn't pushed and manipulated, he wouldn't have done it. It doesn't work. Or how about guilt? A husband will say to his wife, I remember when I was a happy man. It was before we got married. I got to be honest, honey, I think back on those golden, simple, single days, and I think, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? See, threat, manipulation, and guilt are an attempt to change the character of this significant human relationship without dealing with the heart. It's a brilliant illustration. Because if your marriage is constantly producing in the little moments of marriage bad fruit, anger, irritation, impatience, judgment, criticism, needless competition, battles for power and control, put downs, negativity, physical and emotional abuse, threats, if any of that is going on, if you're producing that fruit, then something's wrong at the heart level. Something's wrong at the root level. That's the illustration of Jesus. It's very, very humbling. Because I want to think that it's not me. Let me give you an illustration outside of marriage. You'll be able to relate this very easily. Pretend with me that you're sitting in mind-numbing, this highway is supposed to be an expressway and it's now a parking lot traffic. And you're pounding on the dash. This traffic makes me so angry. Now what's the theology there? The theology is that I would be an otherwise unangry person if it weren't for this traffic. Except you look out the window at the car that's in the lane next to you, and there's a woman driving, and she's got her makeup kit open. She's got a big smile on her face. She's putting on her lips. She's not angry at all. She's thinking, God must love me. Because he's given me a few more moments to reach a higher level of gorgeousness before I face my day. Now, stay with me. These two people are in the exact same situation. They're in the exact same environment. They're dealing with the exact same traffic, but they don't have the same reaction. If the traffic was the reason for the anger, everybody in the traffic would be summarily angry, but they're not. The man driving is going to a very significant sales appointment that he thinks will change his life. And he can't believe that other human beings have the audacity to be in front of him. And the woman that morning just wants to be beautiful. That's what's ruling her heart. And she's just thankful for a little more time to work on the canvas. You see, the fact of the matter is, those two reactions, stay with me here, are caused by what the people have brought to the traffic in their hearts. You get it? The man has something in his heart that produces in that situation spontaneous rage. And the woman has something in her heart that produces in her thankfulness. Exact same situation, but different hearts in the middle of the situation. We just don't respond and interpret life the same way because of our hearts. I'll go to a movie with Luella, one of her movies. And in the middle of the movie, I hear Luella doing this. She hasn't caught a cold. She's having an emotional reaction to the film. About then, I'm thinking, these are the best Raisinets ever. I can't wait till the film is over so I can find the manager's theater to find the source for these Raisinets, because I need these Raisinets in my life. We come out to the film, and Lois says, "Oh, Paul, wasn't that a wonderful film?" I said, "Did you taste the raisinets?" Two people in the very same situation, dramatically different reactions. Now, there are three very important implications for your marriage from this passage I want to give to you. Now we're right on top of marriage. Here's the first one. All marriage problems are heart problems. All marriage problems are heart problems. They're not just problems of gender. They're not just problems of culture. They're not just problems of finances. They're not just problems of schedule. They're not just problems of taste. They're not just problems of sex. They're not just problems of parenting. God knew that we'd be dealing with all of that stuff in our marriage. Those are not the cause of marriage problems. Hear what I'm about to say. Those are the place where marriage problems reveal themselves. All marriage problems are heart problems. There are couples who deal with all of those things and don't have problems. You don't solve marriage problems by negotiating role and negotiating communication and all those kinds of things. Because if you do that, you're still not getting at the heart of why you struggle as a couple. Second implication, and I've already hinted at this. That means that lasting change in your marriage will always travel through the pathway of the heart. Lasting change in your marriage will always travel through the pathway of the heart. That's where our focus needs to be. That's where the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, transforming grace, needs to be applied to our marriages. Now there's a third implication. It's going to upset some of you. And I want you to give me an opportunity to explain before you jump ship and swim home. If Jesus is right in what he's saying in this passage, and he is, because this is Lord Creator speaking, as a husband or a wife, I have to say this. Fasten your seatbelts and put on your crash helmets. I am my biggest marriage problem. It's me. I am my biggest marriage problem. It's me. Now, I wouldn't for a moment, here's the amendment, I would for a moment deny that you will be sinned against in your marriage. You've married a flawed person. Marriages can be tense and ugly and sometimes shockingly abusive. You suffer in marriage often, but hear this. Even in light of that reality, my deepest, longest, most significant problem exists inside of me, not outside of me. Because I cannot escape the truth that my words and my behavior are caused by me, by what's inside of me. I can't point the finger at you and say, you make me do this, because Jesus, who created me, won't allow me to say that. If you're struggling with this right now, I understand why you're struggling. This is different than we're normally told, and it's very, very humbling. But I want to say this. Your struggle in this moment is not with Paul Tripp. Your struggle is with King Christ. Because this is Jesus in love coming to us and helping us to understand why we do the things that we do. I would challenge you in this holy moment. I'm serious here. Open your heart. Let go of your resistance. Fire your inner lawyer. Don't say right now, but Paul, you don't know my husband. Paul, you don't know my wife. I would plead with you